The ocean didn't roar. It whispered a warning. Then the ice answered back. Picture this, a ship locked inside a frozen white desert. No horizon, no help. 28 men staring into a night that never ends. Listening for sounds that mean life or doom. And then, one savage crack from below. The deck tilts, plates rattle, hearts stop. It feels like something under the ice just shoved the ship hard, as if the sea itself wants them gone. Here's the thing, survival isn't about muscle. It's about the mind. And this story is the hardest proof.
We're in the Antarctic, where waves can rise like buildings, winds slice at 100 kilometers an hour, and water is so cold it steals breath and thought. Out here, mistakes don't echo, they end you. For most people, crossing this ocean is a death wish. In 1914, it was worse. No satellites, no rescue radio. Ships were wood and hope. One man looked at that map and saw a dare. Sir Ernest Shackleton. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing a line no one had ever crossed, the entire Antarctic continent on foot. Call it ambition, call it madness. Shackleton called it endurance. He built a crew the old way, face to face, questions simple, eyes locked. Are you steady? Can you take a joke? Will you follow when it hurts? He didn't want the loudest men, he wanted the right ones. Sometimes, breaking the rules isn't rebellion, it's survival. The ad he posted was brutally honest. Hazardous journey, bitter cold, long months of darkness, safe return doubtful. Low pay, honor if you succeed. That wasn't marketing, that was a filter. The men who showed up weren't chasing comfort, they were chasing meaning. Their ship, Endurance, was a beast of oak and willpower, sails and engines together, built to flex when the ice squeezed. On August 8, 1914, she slipped out of England. War had just erupted in Europe. The world was choosing sides. Shackleton chose south. He aimed for the Weddell Sea, that trap of ice and pressure, where maps turned vague and compasses lied. The plan was clean: sail to the coast, unload dogs and gear, walk across the continent. But plans don't survive contact with Antarctica. The ice thickened. Then it locked. Endurance froze in place, 130 kilometers shy of land, close enough to taste victory, far enough to miss it forever. Became a floating winter station on a sea of glass, and the waiting began. Days turned into months. Shackleton built a routine like armor. Soccer games on the ice, hot meals at set hours, lessons, chores, even haircuts. He knew the psychology. Idle minds spiral. Busy hands believe. He also knew fear grows in silence. So he walked the deck, talked to men, and read the room like a storm chart. When tempers flared, he cut the fuse. When spirits dipped, he staged a laugh. Leadership wasn't speeches, it was attention. People don't crave truth. They crave control over what feels true. Shackleton gave them that control. Structure, purpose, tomorrow. Spring has come. The ice didn't soften, it transformed. Sheets buckled, plates heaved, pressure ridges rose like teeth. One night, a deep boom rolled under the hull. Endurance lurched and listed. Morning showed the damage. The rudder crippled, the stern twisted. The ice had found a grip. It started to squeeze. The men fought back. Saws cut channels, picks shattered ridges. They moved the ship a few hundred yards. Then the ice closed again, stronger. Water began to creep in through fresh seams. Buckets thunked. Buckets passed hand to hand. They held the line for days, for weeks, but the ocean never gets tired. On October 27, 1915, Shackleton made the call no captain wants to make: abandon ship. They hauled everything that meant life: food, medical chests, rifles, sledges, the small lifeboats, and the dogs. They dragged it all onto the ice, a camp under a sky that gave no mercy and no shelter. Behind them, Endurance groaned, cracked, and sank. The ship that had been home slid under, swallowed by black water and white silence. No radio, no beacon, no map would save them now. At that moment, the mission changed. It wasn't exploration anymore. It was an extraction. Shackleton drew a new line: get everyone out alive. That was the only success that mattered. He set a target, Powlett Island, where old stores might still exist. But the ice said no. The flow shifted away. The sea, restless and cruel, carried their whole world toward another nowhere, Elephant Island. Imagine living on a moving island that melts under your feet. The ice cracks at night. Your bed drifts. The wind knifes through layers of wool and hope. Food runs low. One biscuit a day becomes policy, not punishment. You hunt what appears: seals, penguins, thanking the ocean for every heartbeat it yields. You shoot the dogs when you have to, not because you want to, because you must. Some choices break you, some choices save you. Sometimes they do both. Comfort lies, the cold never does. After months adrift, the flow shattered. They scrambled into the 3 small boats like ants in a storm gutter and rode out seas that climbed 90 feet. The spray froze on faces, on ropes, on souls. Fingers went numb, words slurred in swollen mouths, but the line held. In April 1916, they slid onto a spit of rock and ice and finally felt land under their boots: Elephant Island. A bad place with one good gift: it didn't float. It wasn't salvation, it was a pause. There was no rescue coming, no patrols, no lucky ships. Shackleton understood the math. If they stayed, they died slowly. So he chose the craziest plan on the table: take one boat, modified, decked over, strengthened with scraps, sail it 800 miles across the most violent open water on Earth, and hit a tiny target: South Georgia Island. Miss by a day, by a mile, and they'd vanish. He picked 5 men and pushed off on April 24th, 1916. Picture a craft the size of a city van, swallowed by mountain seas. Winds howled. The compass was a rumor. Navigation fell to the sun when it showed, and to stars when they allowed it. Most days, clouds erased the sky. They bailed constantly. They shivered in wet clothes that never dried. Salt sores bloomed. Skin split. They slept in pieces, ate in sips, and kept going because stopping wasn't on the list. 16 days later, bruised by the ocean and cut by the cold, they spotted land. South Georgia, wrong coast. Between them and help stood a spine of peaks and glaciers no one had ever crossed. Shackleton didn't debate it. He laced his boots. They climbed without ropes, without maps, without margin. They slid down ice slopes on coiled ropes like sleds. They marched through a night so long their watches lost the plot. They walked toward the sound of a whistle, a factory horn from the whaling station, because sound meant people, and people meant life. When they finally staggered into that outpost, bearded, burned, hollow-eyed, the workers stared. "Who are you?" Shackleton said his name. Silence. Then disbelief turned to recognition. A ghost had stepped out of the ice. He rested for 3 days. Then he went back for his men. It took 4 attempts to reach Elephant Island. Ice blocked him. Storms chased him off. Every failure was a knife. But on August 30, 1916, a clear line opened. He powered through and saw smoke on the beach, a signal. He counted faces. He counted again. All of them. Every single man he'd left behind was alive. Hope is oxygen. Leadership is the lung. From the day Endurance sailed, August 8, 1914, to the day the last man was saved, August 30, 1916, 2 years and 22 days passed. They never set foot on the continent to cross it. The official goal failed. The true goal, the one that mattered when the ice closed and the ship died, was met without compromise. Not one life was lost. Now think about the dark psychology running under this saga. Shackleton understood fear. He knew panic spreads like fire in dry grass. So he controlled the only things he could: routine, story, symbols. He banned despair the same way he banned frostbite, by catching it early. He staged celebrations on bad days. He cut rations himself. He carried the weight he asked others to carry. That isn't the hero myth. That's management in hell. He also broke his own rules when reality demanded it. He abandoned dogs. He abandoned gear. He abandoned the dream. He did it without flinching because the mission had shifted. Clarity is a weapon, so is mercy. The strongest mind on that ice was the one that changed fastest. Here's what hit him and should hit us. Control is a story we tell to keep moving forward. On the ice, the story has to be true enough to work. Years later, the ocean gave back a final image. In 2022, searchers found Endurance on the seafloor, more than 3,000 meters down, preserved in the cold dark like a memory you can touch. The name still reads across the stern, endurance. Not a monument to victory, a monument to refusal, to quit, to fracture each other. When you're trapped, extend the map. When the plan dies, save the people. When the night has no end, become the morning. If you lead a team, if you run a company, if you're just trying to keep your own life stitched together when the pressure rises, remember what worked in the worst place on Earth. Keep a routine. Keep a sense of humor. Keep your eyes on every small human temperature in the room. Make the hard calls before the hard calls make you. Let go of what you wanted. Protect who you have. And never forget this: the sea doesn't care. The ice doesn't care. We have to. Shackleton's men didn't survive because they were the toughest. They survived because their leader turned chaos into direction, fear into movement, and strangers into a crew. They survived because one mind refused to crack when everything else did. That's the lesson buried in black water, stamped into oak, and carried home by 28 beating hearts. When the world tilts and the ground gives way, the bravest thing isn't to hold on, it's to decide who you refuse to let go.